Jiwan walked into the massive council chamber with steady steps. Her black uniform showed the Earth symbol on her shoulder. Around her, thousands of alien beings filled the floating seats that went up to the ceiling. Some had 6 arms, others looked like walking crystals, and a few were just floating balls of light. The chamber was huge. It could hold 50,000 beings from across the galaxy. Today it was full. Everyone had come to see what the humans would say. Chairman Vorthak sat on the highest platform. He was 12 feet tall with purple skin and 4 eyes. His people, the hegemony, had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years. He looked down at Jiwan like she was an insect. "Human ambassador," Vorthak said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You have requested this emergency session. Speak." Jiwan stepped forward. She was small compared to most beings in the room, but her voice was clear and strong. "Honorable Chairman, Council members," she began. "For 70 years humanity has been part of this galactic community. We have followed your laws. We have paid our taxes. We have sent our children to fight in your wars." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some aliens clicked their tongues or made buzzing sounds. They were getting restless. "But now," Jiwan continued, "you demand we give up our colonies in the outer rim. You say humans are expanding too fast. You say we are dangerous." A tall crystal being named Zephys stood up. He was from the Kalari species, humanity's oldest allies. "The humans have done nothing wrong," he said. "They have helped build trade routes. They have kept peace between warring species." "Silence," Vorthak roared. "The humans breed like insects. They spread to every world they can find. They change planets to suit themselves instead of adapting. This is not the galactic way." Jiwan smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "You are right, Chairman. We do things differently. We terraform dead worlds into gardens. We build cities in space. We connect star systems with shipping routes that cut travel time by months." "You disrupt the natural order," said a floating blob of gas called Morthan. "Your species is too aggressive, too ambitious." "We are survivors," Jiwan replied. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. Ice ages, volcanoes, diseases, wars. We learned to adapt or die." Behind Jiwan, more humans entered the chamber. Captain Minho wore his fleet uniform covered with medals. Dr. Hyojin carried a data pad with technical information. Director Taiho walked with the confidence of someone who had built cities among the stars. "You see aggression," Jiwan said. "We see problem-solving. Your people have ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years. In that time, you have explored maybe 30% of it. In 70 years, humans have mapped and settled regions you never even visited, because you ignore safety protocols." Vorthak slammed his fist on his platform. "You fly into dangerous space. You land on worlds that should be left alone. You take risks that no sensible species would take. And because we take those risks," Minho spoke up, "we found the Nexus trade route that cut shipping costs by 40%. We discovered the healing crystals on Valdris that saved millions of Kalari lives. We stopped the plague on Xanthera when everyone else was too afraid to go there." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some aliens supported the humans, others wanted them gone. The noise was deafening. Vorthak raised his hand for silence. When the chamber quieted, he spoke with cold authority. "The Council has made its decision. Humanity will withdraw from all colonies beyond the Sol system. You have 30 standard days." Jiwan nodded slowly. "I see. And if we refuse?" "Then you will be removed by force. The combined fleets of the hegemony, the Arcturus Alliance, and the Voidwalkers will ensure compliance." Dr. Hyojin stepped forward. She was small, even for a human, but her voice carried clearly. "Chairman Vorthak, do you know how many critical systems humans maintain in this galaxy?" "We do not care about your menial labor," Vorthak replied. "Menial labor?" Hyojin smiled. "We run 67% of all cargo shipping. We maintain the fuel depots that keep your fleets moving. We operate the translation networks that let different species talk to each other. We manage the food distribution systems that feed 12 billion beings across 40 star systems. These tasks can be reassigned, Vorthak said dismissively. Director Taiho laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Reassigned to whom? The Kalari are explorers, not logistics experts. The hegemony focuses on military conquest, not trade management. The Void Walkers barely interact with physical matter. We have managed without humans before, Vorthak insisted. Before humans, your galaxy was much smaller, Jiwan said quietly. Before humans, most species stayed in their home systems. Before humans, you had wars that lasted centuries because no one could negotiate peace between different alien mindsets. She paused and looked around the chamber. But you have made your choice. Very well. Jiwan reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button, and every human in the chamber received a signal on their communicators. Effective immediately, Jiwan announced. The Terran Federation formally withdraws from galactic civilization. All human personnel will evacuate within 72 hours. All human-operated facilities will be shut down. All human technology will be removed or destroyed to prevent reverse engineering. The chamber fell silent. Even Vorthak looked surprised. You cannot simply leave, he said. You have contracts. Obligations. Our contracts were with a galactic community that welcomed us, Minho replied. That community no longer exists. You have made it clear we are not wanted. Dr. Heejin was already typing on her datapad. I am transmitting shutdown codes to all human-operated systems, medical facilities, power plants, shipping networks, communication arrays, everything. You would not dare, Vorthak snarled. Jiwan's smile was ice-cold. Chairman, you just threatened to use military force against us. You called us insects and parasites. You dismissed our contributions as menial labor. Why would we want to stay where we are not welcome? She turned to address the entire chamber. To those species who treated us as equals, we are sorry. To those who saw us only as useful tools, enjoy managing without those tools. The humans began walking toward the exit. Zephys, the Kalari representative, stood up. Wait, not all of us agree with this decision. Jiwan stopped and looked back. We know, friend Zephys, but the council has spoken. The majority has chosen. As they reached the chamber doors, Jiwan turned one last time. You have 72 hours to find new operators for your shipping networks, medical facilities, and defense systems. After that, you are on your own. The doors closed behind them with a final sound that seemed to echo through the vast chamber. In the silence that followed, Chairman Vorthak felt the first tiny seed of doubt growing in his mind. But it was too late. The humans were already gone. 6 months had passed since the humans left. Station Commander Yuna stood in the empty control room of Nexus Hub, the largest trading station in the Outer Rim. The screens that once showed thousands of ships coming and going now displayed mostly empty space. Final log entry, Yuna spoke into her recorder. This is Commander Yuna of Trading Station Nexus Hub. After 180 days of operation without human support, we are officially abandoning this facility. She looked around the control room where she had worked for 8 years. The humans had built this station to handle cargo from 50 different species. Now it was a dead shell floating in space. The Kalari tried their best, Yuna continued, but their ships are built for exploration, not heavy cargo transport. They can carry scientific equipment and small supplies, but not the massive food shipments that keep the outer colonies alive. Through the large window, she could see a Kalari vessel trying to dock. It was the third one this week that had failed to properly connect to the station's docking system. The humans had designed those systems to work with any ship type, but without human technicians to maintain them, the systems kept breaking down. Yuna's communicator buzzed. It was Captain Jinwoo calling from his ship, the last human vessel still in this sector. Commander, we are ready to pick up the last evacuation group, Jinwoo said. Are the station systems prepared for shutdown? Yes, Captain, Yuna replied. All critical systems have been set to automatic shutdown in 6 hours. The station will go dark after that. But Yuna knew the real problem was not just this station. Across the galaxy, similar situations were happening. The humans had been quietly running so many systems that most aliens never realized how much they depended on them. The shipping networks were the first to collapse. Humans had created the most efficient cargo routes in galactic history. They used complex calculations to determine the fastest paths between star systems, accounting for gravitational fields, asteroid belts, and political boundaries. Without those routes, shipping costs increased by 300% almost overnight. A simple food delivery that used to take 2 weeks now took 2 months and cost 10 times as much. Yuna remembered the emergency meeting she had attended on the Kalari homeworld 3 months ago. Admiral Sunho had tried to explain the scope of the problem to a room full of alien officials who still did not understand. The humans did not just transport cargo, Sunho had said. They created an entire system. They standardized container sizes so any ship could carry any cargo. They established fuel depots along every major route. They trained their people to speak dozens of alien languages so they could communicate with anyone, the Kalari Admiral Thexus had tried to argue. Surely we can learn these systems. How difficult can it be? Sunho had smiled sadly. Admiral, do you know how to calculate hyperspace jump coordinates while accounting for the gravitational interference of 3 different star systems, the shipping schedules of 200 other vessels, and the dietary restrictions of cargo destined for 12 different species? The silence in that room had been telling. Now, Yuna was seeing the results. The medical networks were failing too. Dr. Hyejin had left behind detailed instructions for operating the biosynthesis equipment that produced medicine for half the galaxy. But the instructions were written in human technical language that most aliens found impossible to follow. Yuna had heard reports of a plague spreading through the Zephyrian colonies. It was a simple bacterial infection that human medicine could cure in days. But without human medical technicians, the Zephyrians were using their own traditional healing methods. The plague was spreading faster than they could contain it. The financial systems were even worse. Analyst Jamin and his team had created economic models that kept the galactic economy stable. They had developed computer programs that could predict market changes and automatically adjust resource distribution to prevent shortages. Those programs were gone now. The humans had taken them or destroyed them before leaving. Without those economic tools, several star systems were facing food shortages while others had too much food rotting in warehouses. Yuna walked through the empty corridors of the station. Each section told a story of human efficiency. The environmental systems that kept the air clean and the temperature perfect. The gravity generators that made it comfortable for any species to walk around. The translation booths where beings from different worlds could communicate easily. All of it was shutting down. Her communicator buzzed again. This time it was a distress call from a hegemony cargo ship that had broken down near the station. Nexus Hub, this is transport ship Mighty Conquest. Our engines have failed. We request immediate assistance. Yuna sighed. Mighty Conquest, this is Nexus Hub. Our repair facilities are offline. We have no technicians available. What do you mean, no technicians? The hegemony captain sounded angry. This is a major trading station. Was a major trading station, Yuna corrected. All human personnel evacuated 6 months ago. The station is being abandoned in 4 hours. There was silence on the communication channel. Finally, the hegemony captain spoke again, his voice much quieter. Is there anyone who can help us? Our cargo hold contains medical supplies for the Arcturus colonies. I am sorry, Yuna said. You might try signaling any passing ships, but most vessels avoid this area now since the shipping routes were discontinued. After ending the communication, Yuna made her way to the command center where Captain Jinwoo was waiting with the last evacuation shuttle. How bad is it out there? She asked him. Jinwoo shook his head. The Kalari are trying to maintain some trade routes, but they are losing ships every week. They do not have the experience for deep space navigation that humans developed over decades. What about the Council? Are they asking for help yet? Officially, no. Chairman Vorthak keeps insisting that the galaxy is better without human interference. But privately, some council members are starting to panic. Yuna looked at her datapad reviewing the final station reports. Jinwoo, do you realize what we were doing here? This single station processed 40% of all medical supplies for the Outer Rim. We coordinated food distribution for 67 colonies. We maintained the fuel depot that supplied 3 different military fleets. I know, Jinwoo replied, quietly. And now it is all going to stop. As they boarded the shuttle, Yuna took one last look at the station that had been her home for 8 years. Soon it would be just another piece of dead metal floating in space. Where are we going now? She asked. Home, Jinwoo said. Director Taiho has new orders. All humans are to return to Earth immediately. No one stays behind. Even the diplomatic staff? Everyone. Humanity is completely withdrawing from galactic civilization. As their shuttle pulled away from the station, Yuna watched the lights go out section by section. In a few hours, Nexus Hub would be dark and silent. Behind them, the hegemony cargo ship was still sending distress signals that no one would answer. Ahead of them lay a galaxy that was about to learn just how much it had depended on the species it had dismissed as troublesome insects. Yuna recorded her final message. They do not realize we handled 67% of interspecies cargo, transport, 45% of diplomatic translations, and operated every major fuel depot in the Outer Rim. They will learn soon enough. The shuttle jumped to hyperspace, leaving the dying station behind in the darkness. 2 years after the humans vanished, General Thaxon of the hegemony stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at empty space where Earth should have been. His military sensors showed nothing, not even debris. Run the scan again, he ordered. His crew, Sir, we have scanned this system 47 times, his science officer replied. There is no sign that humans ever lived here. Thaxon's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the data. The planet that humans called Earth was still there, but it looked completely different. The continents were covered in natural forests and grasslands. The oceans were clean and blue. There were no cities, no roads, no signs of technology. What about the moon? Thaxon asked. No lunar colonies, sir. No space elevators, no orbital stations. It appears completely natural. This was impossible. Thaxon had seen human cities himself. Massive structures that reached into the sky, spacecraft that filled the space around Earth like a swarm of metal insects, industrial complexes that could be seen from orbit. All of it was gone. Sir, incoming transmission from the search fleet, his communications officer announced. Admiral Korthax appeared on the main screen. The veteran hegemony commander looked exhausted. He had been leading the search for humans for over a year. General, Thaxon, what is your status? Korthax asked. Complete negative contact, Admiral. Earth shows no signs of human habitation. What about your sector? The same. We have checked 200 human colonies. All of them are empty. Not just abandoned, completely erased. It is as if humans never existed. Thaxon felt a chill run through his body. That is not possible, Admiral. We have records of human settlements, trade agreements, military cooperation. I know what we have, General, but the physical evidence is gone. Every human outpost, every space station, every terraformed world has been returned to its original state. Behind Thaxon, his tactical officer, was reviewing sensor data from the outer system. General, I am detecting some unusual readings near the asteroid belt. What kind of readings? Energy signatures that do not match any known technology. They appear to be moving. Thaxon walked over to examine the data himself. The energy patterns were unlike anything in hegemony databases. They seemed to pulse and flow like living things, but they were clearly artificial. Admiral Korthax, are you receiving this data? Thaxon asked. Yes, General. My science team is analyzing it now. We have seen similar readings at other former human locations. Always, in the outer edges of star systems, always moving away from inhabited areas, Thaxon made a decision. All ships pursue those energy signatures, maintain maximum scan intensity. As his fleet moved toward the asteroid belt, Thaxon thought about the growing crisis in the galaxy. Without humans, everything was falling apart, faster than anyone had predicted. The Kalari Confederacy was struggling the most. Their exploration ships were not designed for the heavy cargo transport that humans had handled. 3 major colonies had already been abandoned because they could not receive regular supply shipments. His own people, the hegemony, were facing military problems they had never encountered before. Human peacekeeping forces had been maintaining stability in dozens of border regions. Without them, old conflicts were erupting into full wars. But the worst situation was in the medical sector. Dr. Sun He's research had provided treatments for diseases that affected multiple alien species. Her biosynthesis techniques had been saving millions of lives across the galaxy. Now a plague was spreading through the outer colonies, and no one knew how to stop it. The disease was similar to infections that humans had easily cured, but alien. Medical knowledge was not advanced enough to handle it. "General, the energy signatures are accelerating," his science officer reported. "They are moving toward the edge of the solar system. Increase speed. Do not let them escape." But even at maximum velocity, Thaxon's ships could not catch up to the mysterious energy patterns. They seemed to be using some form of propulsion that his sensors could not identify. "Admiral Korthax, are you tracking these readings?" Thaxon called. "Affirmative. But General, look at this data. The energy signatures are not just moving away from us, they are moving away from the entire galaxy." Thaxon studied the navigation plots. Korthax was right. The energy patterns were heading toward intergalactic space, beyond the edge of their star charts. "All ships, full stop," Thaxon ordered. "We cannot pursue beyond galactic boundaries." As his fleet halted, Thaxon watched the energy signatures disappear into the void between galaxies. Whatever they were connected to the missing humans. He was certain of it. His communicator chimed with an urgent message from Hegemony Command. Chairman Vorthak wanted an immediate report on the search efforts. "General Thaxon, have you located the human settlements?" Vorthak's voice was sharp with impatience. "No, Chairman. We have found no trace of human civilization anywhere. It is as if they never existed." "That is impossible. We have extensive records of human activities." "Yes, sir. But the physical evidence has been completely erased. Every colony, every space station, every terraformed world has been restored to its natural state." There was silence on the communication channel. Finally, Vorthak spoke again, his voice much quieter. "What are you suggesting, General?" "I believe the humans have technology far beyond what they showed us, Chairman. The precision required to erase all traces of their civilization. It suggests capabilities we never imagined." "Find them, General. The galaxy needs their shipping networks operational again. Food shortages are spreading to core worlds." After ending the communication, Thaxon turned to his science officer. "Run a complete analysis of those energy readings. Compare them to every known propulsion system in our databases." Hours later, the results came back. The energy signatures matched no known technology, but they showed patterns that suggested incredible advancement. The power requirements alone would have demanded energy sources greater than most star systems could produce. Thaxon realized he was looking at evidence of technology that made hegemony science seem primitive by comparison. The humans had not just left the galaxy. They had transcended it. Meanwhile, reports continued arriving from across the galaxy. Engineering systems that humans had maintained were failing everywhere. Stations went dark, environmental controls stopped working, and communication networks crashed. Engineer Donghyun's terraforming techniques were desperately needed as several worlds faced ecological collapse. His methods for atmosphere processing and soil restoration had been keeping dozens of colonies alive. Without those techniques, planets that had been successfully terraformed for decades were reverting to hostile environments. Colonists were being evacuated from worlds that were becoming uninhabitable again. The economic situation was even worse. Programmer Minji's automated trading systems had been managing resource distribution across hundreds of star systems. Without those programs, shortages and surpluses were creating chaos in galactic markets. Thaxon received another urgent message, this time from the Kalari Confederacy. Their diplomat, Ambassador Zephys, appeared on the communication screen. "General Thaxon, we need to coordinate our search efforts," Zephys said. "The Kalari have been analyzing similar energy signatures in former human territory." "What have you discovered, Ambassador?" The energy patterns appear to be some form of advanced propulsion system, but the power requirements suggest technology that surpasses anything in galactic civilization. How far ahead of us were they? Thaxon asked. Zephys was quiet for a long moment. General, based on our analysis, the humans were not just more advanced than we realized. They were more advanced than we thought possible. As Thaxon ended the communication, he stared out at the stars and wondered if humanity was still out there somewhere, watching the galaxy struggle without them. The search would continue, but deep down, Thaxon was beginning to suspect that the humans did not want to be found, and if their technology was as advanced as the evidence suggested, they might not be findable at all. 5 years had passed since humanity vanished and the galaxy was dying. Chairman Vorthak stood in his private office, looking at reports that painted a picture of complete civilizational collapse. His 4 hands trembled as he read the latest. Casualty numbers: 50 billion beings dead from starvation, another 30 billion from disease. Entire star systems had gone dark. How did we not see this coming? He whispered to himself. His aide, a nervous young hegemony officer named Corthan, cleared his throat. Sir, the emergency council session is ready to begin. Vorthak nodded and walked slowly to the council chamber. It was less than half full now. Many species had withdrawn from galactic civilization entirely, focusing on keeping their own people alive. As he took his seat, Vorthak looked around at the remaining delegates. They all looked exhausted and desperate. The proud confidence that had filled this chamber 5 years ago was completely gone. Members of the council, Vorthak began, we face the greatest crisis in galactic history. Our civilization is collapsing. Ambassador Zephys of the Kalari stood up. His crystalline body had lost much of its shine. Chairman, we must discuss the Yai human situation. We now understand the scope of our mistake. The humans are gone, snorted General Malthor of the Voidwalkers. We should focus on solutions that do not depend on them. What solutions? Zephys shot back. Our shipping networks have collapsed. Our food distribution systems have failed. Our medical facilities cannot handle the diseases spreading across the galaxy. Vorthak raised his hand for silence. He had seen the classified reports that other council members had not. The situation was even worse than they knew. General Malthor, your species has always prided itself on technological advancement. Can the Voidwalkers replicate human shipping efficiency? Malthor's gaseous form shimmered with embarrassment. We have tried. Our ships are not designed for cargo transport. We can carry small amounts of specialized equipment, but not the massive food shipments that the outer colonies need. What about the Arcturus Alliance? Vorthak asked. Delegate Praxon spoke up. Our industrial capacity is focused on manufacturing, not logistics. We can produce goods, but we cannot distribute them efficiently without the human trade routes. Vorthak had expected these answers. Every species in the galaxy had developed specialized skills over thousands of years. The humans had been the only ones versatile enough to handle multiple roles simultaneously. Let me read you some statistics, Vorthak said, pulling up a data pad. Before humans joined galactic civilization, the average cargo shipment took 6 months to travel between star systems. With human logistics, that time was reduced to 3 weeks. The chamber was silent. Before humans, communication between different species required diplomatic meetings that lasted months. Human translators made real-time conversation possible. Vorthak continued reading. Before humans, medical treatment for cross-species diseases was experimental and often failed. Human biosynthesis techniques had a 95% success rate. He set down the data pad and looked at the assembled delegates. We dismissed them as primitive and aggressive, but they were the only species that could adapt to any situation, solve any problem, work with any other species. Then we must find them, Zephys said desperately. Surely they have not gone far. Vorthak laughed bitterly. Our best search fleets have been looking for 5 years. We have found nothing, not just empty colonies. No evidence they ever existed. What Vorthak did, not tell the council, was the real extent of the search efforts. The hegemony had used their most advanced technology, including experimental time manipulation devices, to try to track human movements. They had found nothing. Even more disturbing were the reports from deep space reconnaissance. Several scout ships had detected massive energy signatures at the edge of the galaxy, but when they tried to investigate, the readings vanished. It was as if something was actively avoiding detection. "Sir, incoming priority message," Corthan announced. The main screen activated, showing Admiral Korthax calling from the outer rim. He looked haggard and worn. "Chairman, we have an emergency situation in the Zephyrian colonies. The plague has mutated. It is now affecting species that were previously immune." Vorthax felt his heart sink. "How many casualties, Admiral?" "Current estimates suggest 12 billion beings across 47 worlds, and it is spreading faster than we can evacuate people." The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Several delegates began demanding immediate military quarantine of the affected systems. "Silence," Vorthak roared. When the chamber quieted, he continued. "Admiral, what resources do you need?" "Medical supplies that we cannot produce, Chairman. The biosynthesis equipment that humans operated has been shut down for 5 years. We do not have the technical knowledge to restart it." Dr. Heejin's medical facilities had been the most advanced in the galaxy. Her biosynthesis laboratories could create custom treatments for any species, accounting for their unique biological needs. Without those facilities, treating cross-species diseases was nearly impossible. "What about the human instruction manuals?" asked a delegate. Admiral Korthax shook his head. "We have tried, sir. The documentation is written in human technical language that our scientists cannot fully understand. We have managed to activate some basic functions, but nothing approaching the sophisticated treatments that humans produced." After ending the communication with Admiral Korthax, Vorthak turned to address the council again. "The plague situation brings up a larger issue. We are losing the knowledge that humans provided." He activated another screen showing economic data. "The automated trading systems that analyst Jaimin created are completely offline. Galactic commerce has dropped to 20% of pre-withdrawal levels. The artificial intelligence networks that programmer Minji maintained are developing dangerous glitches. 3 AI-controlled defense systems have already malfunctioned, leading to civilian casualties. The environmental systems that engineer Wu Jin designed are failing across hundreds of space stations. Life support failures have forced the evacuation of 37 installations in the past month alone." Delegate after delegate stood up to report similar problems in their territories. Food production was failing without human agricultural techniques. Communication networks were breaking down without human maintenance. Transportation systems were collapsing without human coordination. "Chairman," Zephys said quietly, "we must face the truth. We are not just missing human services, we are missing human versatility. No other species can adapt and learn as quickly as they did." Vorthak nodded grimly. "I have reached the same conclusion. Humans were not just useful. They were essential." What he did not say was even more troubling. Recent intelligence reports suggested that the galaxy's problems were accelerating. Systems that had been stable for the first few years after human withdrawal were now failing rapidly. It was as if the human-designed infrastructure had been built with planned obsolescence. Without regular human maintenance and updates, everything was breaking down at once. "What are our options?" asked General Malther. "We have 3 choices," Vorthak replied. "First, we can continue searching for humans and hope they will return. Second, we can attempt to reverse engineer human technology and methods, though our success rate so far has been less than 5%. Third, we can prepare for the complete collapse of galactic civilization and focus on saving what we can." The chamber fell silent. None of the options offered much hope. Finally, Zephys spoke up. "Chairman, what if the humans are still watching us? What if they are waiting to see if we have learned our lesson?" Vorthak considered this possibility. It would explain the mysterious energy signatures at the galaxy's edge. It would explain why human infrastructure was failing so systematically. Perhaps it was designed to do so. "If that is true," Vorthak said slowly, "then we must prove that We understand our mistake. We must show that we value what they contributed. But how do we do that if we cannot find them? Asked Malthor. We start by admitting the truth, Vorthak replied. Humanity was not a problem to be managed. They were the solution to problems we did not even know we had. As the council session ended, Vorthak remained in his chair, staring at the empty seats around him. 5 years ago, this chamber had been full of beings confident in their superiority over humans. Now he was beginning to wonder if humans had been superior to them all along. And if they were still out there, watching the galaxy learn this lesson the hard way. 10 years after humanity vanished, the galaxy had learned to live with constant crisis. Chairman Vorthak, now much older and grayer, sat in the mostly empty council chamber reviewing the daily disaster reports. Kelari Deep Space Probe Seeker 7 had been lost for 3 months. Its mission was to search the outer edges of the galaxy for any trace of human activity. Like all the previous search missions, it had found nothing. Until today. Sir, his aide Corthan announced excitedly, we are receiving a transmission from Probe Seeker 7. Vorthak looked up sharply. I thought that probe was lost. So did we, sir. But it just transmitted a massive data burst. The signal is unusual. Within minutes, representatives from the remaining council species had gathered via holographic connection. The chamber that once held 50,000 beings now hosted perhaps a dozen tired delegates. Ambassador Zephys materialized first, his crystalline body dim with age and stress. Chairman, what is the nature of this discovery? We are about to find out, Vorthak replied as his science officer activated the main display. The screen showed sensor readings that made no sense, energy signatures beyond anything in their databases, spatial distortions that suggested technology capable of bending space itself, and massive structures floating in the void between galaxies. What are we looking at? Asked General Malthor. Dr. Thyzon, the hegemony's chief scientist, stepped forward. His voice was filled with awe and fear. These readings suggest artificial structures the size of star systems. They appear to be powered by harvested dark energy and protected by spatial manipulation fields. The display zoomed in on one of the structures. It looked like a city made of light and metal, but it was impossibly large. Ships around it appeared to be specks of dust by comparison. Are there any life signs? Zephys asked. The energy patterns are unlike anything we have seen, Dr. Thyzon replied. But there are signs of organized activity, manufacturing, construction, what appears to be research facilities. Vorthak stared at the images. Deep in his mind, a terrible suspicion was growing. Doctor, do these structures show any design elements that seem familiar? Dr. Thyzon highlighted sections of the massive construction. Actually, yes. Some of the geometric patterns are similar to human architecture, but the scale and technology involved are far beyond anything humans possessed when they left us. 10 years, Vorthak whispered. In 10 years they built this. Before anyone could respond, new data started flooding in from the probe. The transmission included detailed scans of dozens of similar structures all arranged in a massive network, stretching across intergalactic space. Chairman, Corthan called urgently, we are receiving a directed communication signal. It is addressed specifically to the Galactic Council. Vorthak felt his blood turn cold. Put it through. The main screen changed to show a figure in a dark uniform. The being was clearly human, but somehow different. Taller, more elegant, with eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. Greetings, Council members, the human said in perfect galactic standard. I am Admiral Youngho, speaking on behalf of humanity. The silence in the chamber was complete. Vorthak found his voice first. Admiral, we have been searching for your people for 10 years. Where have you been? Youngho smiled, but it was not a warm expression. We have been evolving, Chairman. When you made it clear that we were not welcome in your galaxy, we decided to create our own. Your own galaxy? Zephys gasped. Not exactly, Young-ho replied. We discovered that intergalactic space offers certain advantages. No political boundaries, no territorial disputes, no species telling us we expand too aggressively. Behind Young-ho, the display showed more images of the massive structures, cities that floated freely in the void, ships that seemed to bend space around themselves, technology that made galactic civilization look primitive. How did you advance so quickly? Dr. Thizon asked. Necessity, Young-ho replied simply. When you stripped us of our galactic infrastructure, we had to develop new technologies to survive. When you forced us to abandon our colonies, we had to learn to live in space itself. When you cut us off from galactic resources, we had to find new sources of energy. Vorthak leaned forward. Admiral, the galaxy has been suffering without your people. We realize now that we made a terrible mistake. Yes, you did, Young-ho agreed. But the mistake was not just dismissing us. The mistake was assuming we needed you more than you needed us. The communication signal shifted to show more views of human settlements. Massive installations that harvested energy from dark matter. Ships that could travel between galaxies as easily as the old vessels had traveled between star systems. Populations that seemed to have grown exponentially. We estimate human population at approximately 200 billion individuals, Young-ho continued. We have established 7 major colonial clusters in intergalactic space, each one larger than your entire hegemony territory. General Malthor spoke up. If you have grown so powerful, why have you not returned to help the galaxy recover? Young-ho's expression hardened. Why would we return to a galaxy that saw us as expendable? You made your choice, General. You told us to leave. So, we left. But surely you can see that galactic civilization is collapsing without your contributions, Zephys pleaded. We can see that, Young-ho acknowledged. We have been observing your struggles for the past 10 years. We watched your shipping networks fail. We saw the plague spread through your colonies. We monitored the collapse of your economic systems. Then why did you not help? Vorthak demanded. For the same reason you did not value our help when we offered it, Young-ho replied coldly. You saw us as primitive insects. We now see you as primitive insects. The brutal honesty of the statement hit the council members like a physical blow. Vorthak realized that humanity had not just left the galaxy. They had left it behind entirely. What we are showing you, Young-ho continued, represents 10 years of human development free from galactic politics and prejudice. We have achieved faster-than-light travel that makes galactic distances irrelevant. We have energy sources that dwarf stellar output. We have biotechnology that has extended human lifespans indefinitely. The display showed human settlements that seemed to stretch endlessly through intergalactic space. Gardens floating in the void. Cities that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Technology that seemed almost magical. We have become something you could never have imagined, Young-ho said. We are no longer bound by planetary surfaces or stellar systems. We create our own worlds wherever we choose to exist. Vorthak swallowed hard. Admiral, is there any possibility of renewed cooperation between humanity and the galactic species? Young-ho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was final. Chairman, you had 70 years to learn to work with us as equals. Instead, you chose to see us as a problem to be solved. We offered partnership. You chose supremacy. The galaxy you knew us in no longer exists for us, Young-ho continued. We have evolved beyond the need for planets, beyond the need for traditional resources, beyond the need for the approval of species that considered us inferior. The communication signal began to weaken, as if Young-ho was moving away from the relay beacon. This will be our final communication, Young-ho announced. We harbor no ill will toward the galactic species, but we will not return to a galaxy that saw us as expendable. You made your choice. Now live with the consequences. Commander So-young appeared beside Admiral Young-ho on the screen. She looked directly at the council members with eyes that showed no emotion. We wish you well in your efforts to repair what you have broken, she said. But you will repair it without us. We have found something better than your galaxy. We have found ourselves. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in absolute silence. Vorthak stared at the blank screen, finally understanding the full scope of what they had lost. Humanity had not just left the galaxy. They had transcended it. They had become something beyond galactic civilization entirely. "Sir," Corthan whispered, "the probe is transmitting its final readings. The human structures are moving away from our galaxy." "Moving away?" Vorthak asked. "Yes, sir. They appear to be traveling toward other galaxies entirely. It is as if they are exploring the entire universe while we struggle to maintain civilization in this one small corner of it." Vorthak sank back in his chair, finally comprehending the magnitude of the Council's mistake. They had not just lost humanity's services, they had lost humanity's potential. They had lost the one species that could have lifted all of galactic civilization to incredible heights. And now that species was taking those heights to other galaxies, leaving the Council to manage the slow collapse of everything they had once ruled. "What do we do now?" Zephys asked quietly. Vorthak looked around the nearly empty chamber. "We do what we should have done 10 years ago. We try to learn from our mistakes. We try to become better than we were. And if we succeed? Then maybe," Vorthak said sadly, "maybe somewhere out there among the stars humanity will remember us fondly instead of as a cautionary tale." But deep down, he knew it was too late. Humanity had moved beyond them entirely. The galaxy that had rejected them was now left to face an uncertain future without the species that could have saved them all.